Well, hey, good morning. Happy Monday to all of you crossing friends and family who are jumping in and joining with us today. I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope you were able to join one of our weekend services. We had great worship. Justin did a great job with a message, really bringing good news and hope in a season where I think all of us need hope in our lives. And for me on this Monday, what I've been thinking about is how my life is so different than it was 3 weeks ago. My work life and rhythms around work have drastically changed. The amount of time I get with my family is drastically changed. We're around each other 24/7 now, and some of that's good, and some of that's a challenge. Our interaction with our neighbors and friends and others is drastically different. I mean, even some of the verbiage we use with one another now is different. Like a month ago, none of us had ever said probably the phrase shelter in place. And now it's common knowledge what that means in our day. You know, our lives are drastically different. But on this Monday, what I want to talk about is an opportunity we have in this season. And while many of us face challenges, whether they be financial hardships or we're concerned about our health or the health of loved ones, and many of us, we feel a sense of isolation and loneliness, I want to talk about an opportunity that I think God has put in front of each and every one of us in this season. And this opportunity comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Some of you will be familiar with this passage. It's one of the most famous passages in the whole Bible, and that's because it's one of the most challenging for us. And the author of this passage, a guy by the name of Paul, he writes to a group of followers of Jesus, and here's what he says, 1 Corinthians 13, verse 4. He says, "Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres." And then there's this little phrase in verse 8 where Paul says, "Love never fails." And for me, I was thinking about these verses this morning and just an opportunity for me to check in with God and see, how am I doing with loving the people around me? Our family has had the chance, and this is a huge blessing for our family. I know this isn't true of every family, but for the last 3 weeks, we've been able to have dinner as a family every single night. In our mornings, we haven't had to rush our kids off to school. We have had a lot of more quality family time together, and that has been a huge blessing for us. But if I'm also honest, I'd admit there have been some challenges with this. There have been moments where I regret that I have been short with my kids. When they've asked for their 20th snack and it's 10 a.m. and I'm on an important conference call and they interrupt it again and again and again, there have been times I have responded with anything but love. Or there have been times where I've been short with my wife as we're trying to juggle so many different responsibilities and things we're trying to navigate in this season. And so this morning, what I want to do with you for just a couple moments is just check in. How are we doing with loving the people who are closest to us in this season? And so I want to ask you, when you look at verse 4 and it says love is patient, how's your patience doing today? Would the people around you say, you are a patient person? Or do you cut people off halfway through sentences? Or do you turn around in the middle of a conversation and start doing something else? How are you doing with being patient or kind? How's your kindness level doing with your family and friends? Or in those moments where you have to go to the grocery store and there's that higher level of anxiety at the grocery store, how are you doing with being kind to the person at the checkout counter or the person in front of you or the person behind you? Would they describe their interaction with you as kind? Because here's what love is. Love is patient and love is kind. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. And so here's just my Monday challenge for you today. is if you look back over this last week and you'd say, you know what? I don't think love is the word the people around me would describe me as. I've been impatient or unkind, or I've been frustrated easily. Or maybe for you, the phrase that stuck out to you when I originally read it was, love is not easily angered. And when you think about yourself, you'd say, you know what? Andrew, I am easily angered. Well, here's what I want to ask you to do. Today, before the end of the day, I want you to gather the people around you that are in your house or your apartment together. And if you live by yourself, maybe you want to get someone on the phone. And I want you just to confess to them. And just say these words. Say, you know what? I was thinking back on this past week. And there was a moment I was unkind to you. And then describe it. Or there was a moment I was impatient with you. And I'm sorry. Will you forgive me? Because here's what I know about love, friends. Here's what you and I both know. Is that love never fails. That even in this difficult season that you and I are in, even in this unique challenge that we're all faced with today, there is a God who so loves us. There is a God who is always patient with us. There is a God who is always kind towards us. There is a God who is not easily angered. And His love never fails. And there's going to come a day where this shelter in place is lifted. And there's going to come a day when life returns to a brand new type of normalcy. Won't be what it was before, but there will be a new normalcy in place. And here's what I can promise you. Love never fails. If you have kids in this season, I wonder what it would look like for you to increase your patience and kindness towards your kids or your spouse or your coworkers in this season. So friends, here's my challenge today. Maybe for you, you need to start memorizing 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4 and bring it all the way through verse 8. Or maybe you need to write it down on an index card and put it in a mirror. Maybe you need to make it a screensaver or the background on your phone. And just throughout this week, just remember, the thing you and I are called to is love. Thanks everyone for joining me for just a few minutes on this Monday. I hope your week is a phenomenal week. And if there's anything our church can do, if there's anything I can do to serve you, please don't hesitate to let us know. We're praying for you and we're in this together. Thanks everyone.